Hey, this is Wolf from Armoury-Terrain, and tonight I'm making another monster plant. If you hear any cheering in the background, that would be because it's a grand final for the football. Don't know what code, but all the normal people here in Brisbane are watching it, and I'm making props. So for this monster plant, I'm using another one of these citronella candle bases, so it's terracotta, give it a little bit of weight. Using an egg. It was filled with Marvel stuff from memory. It cost about $5 from one of the cheap shops, and it was filled with lollies and stickers and an eraser and stuff. We also need some foam, because what's a build without foam? In fact, with the pot to start with, we're going to hot glue this stack of foam together and glue it to the bottom of the pot, and then glue this circle that I've cut on top and push it down nice and tight, and then we can have a nice base to build the monster plant on. Now my glue's heated up, so I can glue this together, and then I'll be using tissues. Cheap, nasty tissues, the thinner the better, to do some paper mache and also some paper clay, because I want this to look like a cross between an alien's egg and an Audrey plant from Little Shop of Horrors. Okay, as you can see, I've got my foam glued into the pot. Now what you've got to be careful about is it doesn't stick up above the edge. So if it does, you're going to have to paint it. I mean, I've used pink, but any of the colours will show out. So just be careful of that. Now with the egg, this is a sort of egg that anytime you squeeze it, it pops apart. So we're going to put some hot glue in this as well. CA glue is probably a better bet, but the hot glue gun's out and CA glue's in a drawer. For those that don't know what CA glue is, it's sold as super glue. It's cyanide acrylate or something along those lines. Okay. So that's stuck together, never come apart again. I like these eggs because they've got holes in the top and the bottom, so you're not forming an airlock. And then all we're going to do is put a nice generous amount of hot glue on the bottom, because the bottom's not exactly flat, and place it in the center of the pot. Now for the hard part, leaving it to sit here for at least 5 minutes to make sure the glue is set. Okay, and turn off my hot glue gun, because that's all we're going to need until we put some leaves on. And waiting. I'm not going to make you wait with me. I'm going to sit here and not touch the glue until it sets. Okay, it's been 5-ish minutes. And in that time I've cleaned some of my desk and found all sorts of rubbish on there I could throw out. Leather scraps, broken rivets, you know, all the good stuff. Now we're going to use some watered down PVA glue and a halfway decent sized brush. I'm using a 1/2 inch one here. Process is to paint the whole egg with the watered down PVA. Doesn't matter if it drips to the base a bit, because we're going to be fixing that up. Now, the reason we're putting the PVA on here, besides to hide this ugly seam that runs all the way around the egg, is to add some veins and some organic looking stuff, so it's not plasticky. Okay, tissue. First tissue goes straight over the top like that, and let's brush it on. Now, we're going to do a Bob Ross here and look for happy accidents. Okay. So it definitely won't be smooth, and that's okay, because we want it to be wrinkled and have veins in it. Put that the other side. So all you've got to do is paint it on. possibly using a full tissue like that was not the best plan. So for the rest of this, I'll tear the tissue into pieces, because let's learn from our mistakes instead of repeating them. And it's starting to look a little bit more organic already and less like a plastic egg. So after all, nobody wants a plastic egg in their garden. It just doesn't look cool. So you can see where I've torn through the tissue to start with, because I was a bit rough on it. So I'll just patch that on the next pass through. Yes, tearing your tissue into little pieces is definitely the way to go. Don't go too big. It doesn't work. So I'm aiming for about 3 layers of tissues on this. So anyway, Halloween's coming up very soon. It's only 4.5 weeks away now. So ideally, you'll see a few more Halloween-ish type projects from this channel. That is, you know, around building sets for a short film and doing costuming for a heavy metal film clip or music video, and a couple of other projects that I can't actually talk about because of NDAs, which is non-disclosure agreements. Yay for legalese. So Wolfie is a very, very busy boy this month. You know, Halloween plus all these other projects. So I'm either busy or I'm insane. One of the two. Personally, I think it's probably insane. So this is starting to look a whole lot better. It's getting some texture to it now, just from the random wrinkles of the tissues. I think one more coat and it'll be good to go. I use this same container over and over, and because painting white glue on white tissues can be a bit of a mind-destroying process, I'll often add a color to it, and this is just flecks of paint that are left over from the last color I put in there. I really should give this a wash out sometime soon. But the flecks don't detract from it, at least I don't think they do. Just a little bit more over the top, and I think this one is pretty much done. Okay, I'm now going to leave this to dry for, say, 10 minutes or so, while I get some baking paper or cling wrap to put over the table. You could do it straight on your table, but this is going to make a mess, this next step. So some baking paper or parchment paper would be really handy. So here we have the egg. It still looks a lot like an egg, especially because it's white. But we're going to put some veins on it next and some opening points. Okay, I now have some parchment paper on my table, and I've taped it down just with some masking tape because I am known for making a mess. Okay, so this is the messy part. We're going to basically make paper clay. So you get your tissue, and guess what? Yeah, brush glue on half of it. You then fold it over and brush glue on it again. And fold it over. And brush glue on it. Guess what we're doing now? If you said fold it over, you'd be right. We fold it over, then we fold it one more time, and this gives us a fairly thin bit of piping that we can use and tear it into whatever lengths that we need. In fact, I'm even going to fold this again just because it's still a little bit wide, I think. Okay, now that you've got this messy, sticky thing, take your egg and work out where the opening is going to come down to. I'm saying it's going to come down to about here, and that's my phone. Now that my phone call's been and gone, we've got this on here. Let's pinch it so it's a little bit tighter yet again. So it stands up. What we're then going to do is put a second piece there, hopefully just a little bit longer, with just a tiny little bit of a suggestion of a U at the bottom. So it's going to go in like this and pinch it into the same sort of size. So what we're looking at is it's definitely a seam. And if you're really smart, you'd do that in a single hit. So can you see that's going to be the opening? One of 4, or maybe 3. I like 3. 3 is good. Now this bit isn't long enough to do a full one, so I'm going to twist it to make it a little bit tighter. And I'm going to attach it to the bottom of the egg and just have it running upwards. In fact, I'm going to get my knife. I mentioned this was mucky stuff, right? So I'm going to get my knife and I'm going to cut about 3 or 4 centimeters from the end. Just cut it in half. Okay, I'm not going to cut it in half because it tore off. That's fair enough. I'm just going to tear it into small pieces. So once again, we're going to run this up as a vein, stick it to the egg, and then the 2 pieces I just tore apart, I'm going to spread out. So you're starting to get veins on it as well. And now it's a matter of rinse and repeat. Another 3 times for the opening and a few more times for the veins. I'm not going to put you through all of that, so I'll see you once they're done. Okay, once you have as many veins on as you like and opening, I've done 3, you could do 4, you could do 5. You know, it's your plan. You can do whatever you like with it. But yeah, once you get all the veins on, there's one more very important step that we have to do. And without this step, these bits tend to fall off. And we don't want that after all the hard work. So what we need to do now is single thickness tissue only. Tear it into pieces about this size. And working around, just carefully brush it down to hold all the details on. It'll also help soften the details a bit, and And after this project, I'm definitely going to go clean out this container, because all these black paint spots are a little off-putting. So just carefully push down on the brush. You're not so much brushing as dabbing. So you can already see that that's smoothing it out and making sure it doesn't go anywhere. So now you've got to do that to your whole project. And once that's done, we're going to leave it overnight to dry. So yes, just be careful with this step that you do get all of it, and that you ease the tissue down around the details. Because otherwise, what's the point of having all the details on there? We're also going to be doing it over the top, and when you do that, just make sure that you do run your brush in between there so we still get the dividing line. As you can see, it's starting to go well, so it's going to probably take me another 10 minutes to go around and seal all of this. So I'm not going to put you through that. We'll come back when it's dry. So after letting this dry thoroughly overnight, yeah, I really did that. I didn't use my hairdryer to speed along the process at all. No, not me. Yes, after letting it thoroughly dry overnight, I have given it a base coat of dark grey. Why did I do this? Well, while it was drying, I had a heavy metal band here that needed to repaint a copper knife or bronze knife into a flint dagger. So this is the colour they use, and I had leftover out in the cup, so that's what colour this one. And this is just to make sure there's no loose bits of tissue and that everything is painted in. Now I'm thinking green for this bulb, with probably purple veins, or maybe red veins and red lips. Not entirely sure yet, either purple or red. I'm going to paint it, and then I'm going to show you how to make the leaves for it. Okay, so the bud is green, the veins are red, the base is brown, and all in all, it still looks like an egg, or maybe a football. So let's fix that, shall we? I think it needs some leaves. Now, you can do any sort of leaf you like. What I decided to do was a symmetrical leaf, and just cut it out of cardboard to get a template, and then 2mm craft foam, and I've bent the leaf to try and give it a little bit of stiffness. And the idea is I'm going to glue the base under the egg and then glue the edge to the pot so it rises up a little bit, and then paint it the same color, green, which was sap green, by the way. I used sap green and crimson and some good old burnt umber. They're my three colors of choice for this one. So just waiting for the glue gun to heat up. I've also made the decision that my leaves should be on the sections, I should probably dry that a bit more, on the sections where the join isn't. So there'll be 1, 2 and 3. So when it opens up, they'll curl over to where the leaf is. At least that's the idea. We have the finished pod plant. Not pot, but pod. Ready to spring open at any time and flower. Yes, that's right, it's not going to actually fire out a face hugger, maybe, but flower. So yeah, this is Wolf from Armoury-Terrain saying stay in and make something, especially if it's a funky monster plant with foam leaves and paper mache over a plastic Easter egg type thing. Like, how simple is this? Okay, remember, stay in and make something.